this thing on? Hi. Welcome back to my channel. I'm in a weird setting. I'm in the kitchen. How weird is that? The last time you guys saw me, I was still pregnant. I think it was my gender reveal that went up, I think in August or September. I don't even remember. But he has been born. He is actually 8 weeks now. This is the third time I tried to film this video. And it has been so different each time because the first time I tried to film, I said he was 6 weeks. The second time I tried to film, I said he was 7 weeks. And now he's 8 weeks, and hopefully this is the one that does go up. It's also crazy to say I have a baby. A whole baby. Okay, anyways, I wanted to say my birth story because I never got to film it. Any part of it. I didn't film at all. Basically, from the second I left my house to go to the hospital, I didn't even touch my phone. Didn't even think of anything to film the process. So basically I didn't film any of it. I didn't even pick up my phone till after he was born, and I think it was till like 20 minutes after he was born. So anyways, okay, so I was gonna do like a get ready with me, but one, I'm not going anywhere. Second, I kind of already got ready ish, supposedly, según yo, but I guess I could just talk. Also, if birth stories are triggering for you, do not watch this video, please. I understand some people just aren't about birth stories, and that is okay. So do not watch if you do not like birth stories. Number 2, this is my experience, my thought process. This is what I went through. I know not every birth story is the same, not every pregnancy is the same, and not every baby is the same. And number 3, if the lighting is changing, it's because I am using natural daylight and the sun is weird, so and I can't control the weather, so just bear with me. That being said, if you are still going to watch this video, let's get to it. My son was due January 4th and he was born January 5th. Now, I have to say this part because I feel like it's important. On January 4th, essentially my due date, I went to what became my last prenatal appointment. She did a cervical check and I was 2 centimeters dilated, 60 to 70% effaced. So I left that appointment thinking I still had a week left, which I was completely okay with because I had already accepted that my son is going to be past due. Like, everyone was like, oh, your first is never born before their due date. They're usually born way after their due date, which is true in some cases. I have, however, seen cases where the baby comes before their due date. However, I had accepted that he was going to go past his due date. So I still remember I got out of my appointment and my mom called me because she knew I had an appointment that day, and she asked me how it went, and I was like, oh, I'm only 2 centimeters dilated and he's chilling in there. Like, honestly, I still have about a week to go, so we don't even have anything to worry about. And she was like, that is totally fine as long as they said it's okay for you to go like a week past your due date, which honestly is okay, and they will always tell you it is okay for most cases. So I was like completely prepared to go a whole week past my due date, like, and then some, you know? So I got home that day and I updated my husband with the same news, like he still has a week in there, and that was that. Cut to the next day, January 5th. I woke up at 5:55 a.m. and I like to say that because that is exactly the time I woke up, and I went to use the bathroom, and also I was on antibiotics. I remember that. I got on antibiotics because I had an ear infection, and usually antibiotics give me crazy stomach aches. Pregnant or not pregnant, like, they give me stomach aches like crazy. And I had already taken 2, so I was like, I guess here it begins. So I woke up, I went to the bathroom, and then I was about to lay down back in bed when I felt my stomach ache again, and I was like, oh crap, I got to go back to the bathroom. So I was pretty much in and out of the bathroom around 4 times before I was like, this is not a regular stomach ache. Like, my stomach hurts, like, really bad. And then I started thinking, like, TMI, but I started thinking, like, maybe I'm all constipated. Like, I don't know, my stomach really hurts, which is also common in pregnancy. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's happening? So cut to maybe like 6:45, 7 a.m. I'm sitting in my bed and I'm just like, my stomach hurts, but I had already gone in and out of the bathroom like 7 or 8 times at this point, so I no longer wanted to go. So I was just like, should I just bounce on my ball and hope that it helps things move, you know? And I did not do that either. At around 7:15, it clicked in my brain that one of my close friends told me that contractions / labor felt like you have to take a really big poop. And I remember that clicking, and I think she's probably watching this video, so if you're watching it, shout out to you. I think more people told me, but she was like the first person that popped into my brain at that moment. And so I was like, but I still was like, I don't think so, like, I don't know. I should also preface, this was my first pregnancy, the first time I gave birth, so I had no idea what a contraction felt like at all. Like, that was just, again, how my brain was working at the time. So anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if I am in labor, you know? And I don't think it like fully clicked. If you were to look at like my search history, literally 10 minutes before I woke up my husband, I googled, does labor feel like you have to poop? And it's so funny to me, but that is what I googled, like, legit. And then after I googled it, I was like, I shouldn't be googling it, I should just be getting to the hospital, because even if I'm not in labor, my stomach hurts, and that is not normal for it to be hurting this much while I'm pregnant. Like, that's probably not healthy. I waited about 10 more minutes and I realized that it was not a persistent pain. Like, it was a pain that was coming and going. So I turned as calmly as possible. I turned to my husband and I was like, he was like dead asleep still. Like, we were not, he wasn't working that day till later, so he was dead asleep. And I was like, it might be time for us to go. And he just gently woke up and he was like, okay, let's go. And he started calmly putting everything in the car, and he would just come in and out of the room to check on me. He was like, you still doing okay? And I remember I was changing and I had to pause in the middle of changing so that I could like feel my stomach pain. And then I remember I told him, there's a high chance that they might just send us home because I think this is just a really big stomach ache. I literally still believed it was a huge like stomach ache. Like, I went into the hospital saying I felt abdominal pain. I did not once say I think I'm in labor. I literally was like, I have a stomach ache. And so I prepared him for the possibility that I might not be in labor, like this might just be a stomach ache. And I was literally even embarrassed. I was like, what if I get there and they're like, girl, you just have to use the bathroom? So I was prepared for that, and so was he. So we left the house around 7:45ish, I want to say. The hospital is not that far from where I live, so it was only like a 15-minute drive. And I got there and I remember giving them my paperwork because I didn't even get to register because I had just gotten my papers to register at my previous appointment. So I had to give them that because regardless they had to register me in. And then I think at exactly 8 o'clock they came and they got me and they took me into the triage room. They put me in a gown and they examined me, and then the girl goes, okay, you're 5 centimeters like dilate. And I was like, excuse me, what? Because I was like, whoa, like they just told me yesterday I was 2. Like, I went up to 5 really quick. And she was like, yeah, so that pain you're feeling is contractions. And that's when it finally hit me, like, oh, it was a contraction that I was feeling. So she plugged me into a monitor, and I guess that's how she saw it. Anyways, and then she left for about 20 minutes, and she comes back and she's like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and, I forgot the word that's used for it. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, she basically came in and said, like, we're gonna go ahead and bring you in, like, go ahead and like take you to the delivery room. But she used a specific word. Admit you, there you go. She's like, we're gonna go ahead and admit you. And I walked to the delivery room, and I swear the walk from the triage room to like the delivery room felt like the longest walk of my life. I remember asking my husband, like, how far, like how long did we walk for? And he was like, 5 minutes. But in my head it felt like 30 minutes because I was stopping pretty often because of contractions. And I am not exaggerating when I say that the second I walked into the delivery room, it seriously felt like my contractions were 30 seconds apart. Now that I knew they were contractions, they felt 30 seconds apart. Like, I no longer felt like I could breathe between contractions. It was just like contraction after contraction after contraction. I remember they put me on the bed and they kept telling me to breathe, and even my husband was like, breathe, breathe. And I remember thinking, I am breathing, am I not breathing? Like, what's happening? Like, am I not breathing? And it really happened really fast. And one of the girls was like in training, but she did really good. Like, for someone who was in training, she did really good. She came up to me and she's like, oh, do you want the epidural? And apparently I said yes. I did not hear myself talk. I just heard myself go like this. And my husband's the one who told me that he verbally heard me say yes. And I was like, whoa, I said yes? And he was like, yeah, you said yes, but I do not remember saying yes. I just remember nodding my head. And yeah, I actually was really impressed with how fast I said yes to the epidural, because I have nothing against epidural, obviously. I just never expected myself to say yes so fast. Like, I expected myself to at least take a minute and like think about it. Like, I expected myself to be like, do I really want to take the epidural? But in the moment, the pain felt like really bad, to the point where I was getting tense with every contraction. And I think that's why they were like, you are not breathing during your contractions. I do want to say I did feel like I lost complete control of my body. I feel like I couldn't control how I felt, how I reacted, or anything like that. Like, I just felt like that was that, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I remember they started giving me fluids, and they started giving them to me like really quickly, because they were like, you are dilating really quickly, so we need to get that epidural in, and we need to get it fast. Now, in the middle of one contraction, I felt fluid come out of me. Like, I literally was like, something just came out of me. I don't know what it was. Honestly, in the back of my brain, I was like, I think I just peed. I don't know. So that's why I said something just came out of me, because I was not even sure what it was. I just knew something came out without my control. She lifted up my blanket and she was like, oh, it's just urine. But they still checked my water just to be safe. And in that moment, I see the nurses look at each other, and then she goes, do you know what to do in this situation? And then the other girl who was in training was like, call the doctor? And then she's like, yes, go call the doctor. The second she got up to walk away, excuse me, they start moving really fast. They pull out like the little leg things. They put me on my back, and they put my legs on the thing, and they're like, all right, no epidural, I'm sorry, he's coming. Apparently I was 10 centimeters already. And when he was like, I guess, moving, he pushed on my bladder, which is what made me just pee. And apparently I was 10 centimeters already, and I was like, that was fast. And then they asked me like, were you pushing during your contractions? And I was like, I'm trying not to. And I said it while I was laughing, which made my husband go, what? But I was like, it's not my intention to push during the contraction. I just happened to be pushing during the contraction, I guess. So that was that. And then 10 centimeters, the doctor comes in and they're like, all right, doctor, she's at 10 centimeters. Are we gonna make her deliver? And then he's like, well, yeah, she's got her, she's ready. And I delivered my baby. I think I pushed once, and then they were like, push when you feel a contraction. And then I remember asking, how do I push? And they were like, just like if you have, like if you're pooping, like if you're trying to push out a poop. And then I was like, well, no wonder people poop when they're in labor. Like that's what they tell you. That's how they tell you to push. Like push like you're pooping. My mouth was getting dry. I had to take a break to drink some water. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. So I remember like having to push, and then them being like, just push like that, and wondering if I was even doing anything because I couldn't feel like if I was pushing or not. And then the doctor was like, yep, you're doing good. So I gave one more push, and then apparently this is the push that brought him out. And I still tried to push again, and they were like, no, stop pushing, he's out. And I was like, oh, he is. And that's when, like, I guess I came back into my body and I heard his cry, and I was like, he's out. And it was just amazing. And it was just as fast as it sounded. I officially went in at 8 a.m. and my baby was born at 10 a.m. So it happened as fast as it sounded. And I couldn't believe my body did that. Afterwards, apparently I tore. I did not feel myself tearing either, so that was intense. I think in my situation, adrenaline really kicked in because I couldn't feel myself pushing. I couldn't feel that I was pushing him out until they told me he was out. So every case is different, and he was born, and he was beautiful and super precious. And I remember my husband got to cut the umbilical cord, and I remember the lady asking us for our phones and saying if we wanted any pictures, and we were like, oh yeah, like that's right, our phones. And we handed her our phones. I think we handed her my phone, and she took a couple pictures, and she got like these pictures. She also got pictures of like when they were getting his weight, but obviously he's naked, so I'm not going to show those. And it happened that fast, and I just remember them asking me if that was my first kid, and I was like, yeah. And then I remember the doctor was like, okay, you're all stitched up, healthy, happy baby, congratulations, see you in a year. And I started laughing because I was like, okay, like I guess. And then the nurses, well, he was my old gynecologist, so I was really cool with him. It's not like I got offended by his comment or anything. He used to be my gynecologist, so I was like laughing at his comment because that just sounded like something he would say. And so I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And the nurses were like, oh, it's just because typically, you know, people tend to get, lately, not typically, she said lately, a lot of people have been getting pregnant really quickly after their first. And that was the story of how my son was born. His name is Elias. Put up some pictures of him somewhere here, probably. He is precious. He is now 8 weeks, like I said before. That is the actual birth part of my hospital stay. I didn't do much. I literally was only in the hospital for 32 hours from the minute I checked in to the minute I walked out of the hospital. Well, I didn't walk, they like rolled me in a wheelchair, but from the minute I stepped out of the hospital to the minute I stepped in, it was 32 hours. I went in at 8 a.m. on January 5th, and I left at 2 p.m. on January 6th. So that was the story of my baby. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment them down below, or if you follow me on Instagram, go ahead and you could DM me. If you guys are interested in any other videos or any other story times, feel free to comment them down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it gave you guys some kind of idea of my birth story. I was trying to say it quick because I know sometimes long videos can be annoying. Go ahead and see you guys in the next video.